big brothers and sisters, y'all not getting no regular introduction today. We started out like this. Welcome, big brother, brothers and sisters. I'll give you a little bit of intro. I got my notes here. I don't even have them up on a stand today because this is my reaction after watching Thursday's episode of Big Brother and the Double Eviction. As you can see, I was in my feels, so I didn't even want to record this till a day after because I was so in my feels that I would have probably been spewing out all types of stuff to you. So I've allowed myself to calm down over one day and come to you level-headed today to express this week of Big Brother, this week 10 of Big Brother. Okay, I'm just gonna continue. Let's start it out with Sunday. Let's just begin, because it was so disappointing to me, y'all, that I hardly even wanted to come to do this episode today. Like, I feel like Big Brother is already over. Like, just wrap it up. Tie up, put it in a bow, ship this season 23 out on a ship, and say bye-bye. Like, it baffled me. Okay, so day 65 starts on Sunday, and Kylan ends up staying like we already knew he was going to. We knew everybody was going to keep their word, and that the cookout was going to succeed. So yes, the cookout succeeded. So Hannah sits down to talk to Kylan, to talk it over, like, where did this frustration come? Like, why are you upset? We all knew we were going to be doing this type of stuff. So, they have this issue that he didn't want to go up, because he wanted to build his resume. He's trying to look good for all of these people that are in the jury and all of that, and trying to just build it up. So he didn't want to go up. He would rather somebody else have gone up. So he's looking out for his own game too, but Chada really didn't understand why this was going on. And he tried to kind of explain what his disappointment was, but I think Kylan should have just been happy that he's there, that he got to stay. So eventually Kylan still is going crazy about this, and Tiffany tries to calm him down from this pedestal that he was on, that he didn't like. He's just really upset at this point. He's like, I know you can understand why I would be acting like this, why I would be, feeling this way. Why don't you see what's going on? And Tiffany's just trying to explain, like, I was just trying to comfort you. I was just trying to come over here and comfort you and give you what you needed at that time, and you really just like blew up on me, and it really looked bad. And I feel like Kylan handled that the wrong way. Of course, I wanted it to have repercussions, but we'll get into the rest of this week. But anyway, Tiffany tries to talk to him again, and she tries to do some damage control with X, because now that, it's all said and done, we need to start getting this game in order so that we can solidify this game and that she can try to make it to the top too. So she tries to like smooth it over with X, and X is not really having it. She even tries to approach Derek X, I believe, in this episode, and tries to smooth things over with him. And Derek F, I meant to say, is really not having it. Derek F is like, girl, I'm shipping you out regardless of whatever. We already knew Derek F was not about to switch anything, so it was kind of pointless for her to try to do that. But you got to do what you got to do to try to get it all under control. So eventually we find out again, Derek F wants Tiffany out, and then Kai and X end up talking. And Kai thinks that it would be great to go to the end with X. So they make this final two type alliance that they'll take each other to the final. Now, what I thought about this alliance was, I was like, this is just kind of buying X some time. Maybe it is a good decision for him and X to go at the same time, but I don't know how great that would be. In hindsight, as I'm looking at it now from what the jurors are saying, later on we'll find out in the Thursday episode, it does look like that might be a good decision, because Kylan has pissed off a lot of people in the jury house so far. So it's the management for me, and I think that was a perfect time for them to try to make this alliance. So it came, at the right time. I think that may have been the most strategic move. So finally we find out that Derek F wants to get more, serious about this game. He's like, I have to really put in the work now. Now's the time to really step it up. I always said, like, from the last episode, it's a little too late to be trying to step it up. You should have been trying to step it up a long time ago when, we were talking about maybe not throwing as many competitions. But when it comes down to it, maybe that was his best move, because he really didn't have to work for anything, because he knew it was safe. He had that good of a game that he did not really need to stay, he didn't really need to stay, too safe. Like he just had to go up there and throw these competitions and be like, okay, I'm good because people are gonna save me. So he was good with Azah. He was good with Alyssa. He was good with Christian. He was good with a lot of folks. I think Tiffany and Hannah might have been the only people that could have seen through what he was trying to do. So finally, they make a gentleman alliance. That's what it's called. Kylan and X, their alliance is called the Gentleman Alliance. We'll see if this holds up or if it is true as the game progresses. But finally, Hannah, Kylan, and Chada make a final deal also. So they make this thing called the Con Artist Alliance. And so this is the Con Artist Alliance. And I mean, this is a promise that he's making both with X and he's making it with these ladies, telling them he's going to bring them forward. So in the end, Kylan ends up winning the HOH when they have the HOH competition, and X he's so excited because he decided to make that deal just in the right time so that Kylan, could weigh his options and see who he wanted to stick around. So every time Kylan ends up getting these HOH or winning, I feel like he turns into a different person. He turns into this like monster. It's like Kylan is just like out for blood regardless of whatever. Like he doesn't remember anything that he promises to people. He just does what's best for him. And I mean, that's what Tiffany did too in a way too. So it was either Tiffany or Kylan in the end that really one of the two was going to have to go because they both look out for themselves a lot. I can't even say Xavier was looking out for himself that much. He's just now starting to kick into gear now where he started looking out for himself. So finally, Derek F wants to be, a threat in the house. He's coming up and he's trying to get all ballsy now. Like he wants to really be a threat now. And it's too late for that, Derek F. Let me just say, it's too late to try to step that up now in the game. Like, I'm sure you wanted it. It was all good, but right now you're a floater. Right along with Azah. Y'all two are the floaters of the game. So be your floater, stick around and be the floater, and you might not have an argument on why you should stay in the end. So I just don't know what that would bring if he brought one of them undeservingly to the finals. Like if X or Kylan or whoever brought them to the final, like I just don't understand how that would be, that's not really a competition. You want to beat the best. And that's what I think Big Brother is definitely about. So finally, Xavier and Kylan talk and they want to put Tiffany and Chada on the block. So it comes down to this decision that he has to make if he wants to roll with X or if he really is trusting Tiffany and Chada. And so it ends up Tiffany shows her hand to Kylan, and he says that D and X have to go, like Derek X and X have to go because they're a threat to your game. I'll keep you around here, even though we know in the end she would have picked Chada, but she's like, we're here to save you. We'll keep you around long. I don't know if you can trust X. In the end, he still puts Tiffany and Chada on the block, which in gaming, yes, that was a great decision. Disappointing to me, yes, that was very disappointing to me because I wanted it to be like, those are just the obvious, like this game has been played so out of the box the whole time, and to pick Tiffany and Chada right up from there and put them up there, I guess we're that far into the game where you can't let them go any further. So you're like, we have to stop this now so Chada doesn't try to take Tiffany off the block and Tiffany doesn't try to take Chada off the block, and we don't have to get rid of the guys and Azah, who is just, to me, floating at this point. So we get to Wednesday. Derek F is happy. He's joyful that Tiffany is gone. She out of, that she's about to get out of here. He's excited. He's not really letting his hand show too much. I think he's let his hand show already, but Derek F is happy that she's leaving. And Kylan and Hannah talk, and she thinks that Kylan made a silly decision by putting her and Tiffany up there because they were going to be his protection to get through some of this game. As we continue, Tiffany and Chada sit down and talk about this guy's alliance, and they come up in their head and know for a fact now that there has to be a guy alliance. So they have already pinpointed that there is a guy alliance going on right now, and so they're trying to make sure that Azah knows and gets on board with what's going on. So Azah and Chada said they realized the importance of having a girls' alliance. So this is all talked about. Hannah's talking about it, or Chada's talking about it with Azah. Tiffany's talking about it with Azah. She now knows that the girls need to stick together in order for them to have longevity in this game. It's imperative. So finally, we have the BB Comics, which is one of my favorite. This is one of my favorite competitions in BB. I love when they slide across the bar and have to look at the comic books and find the differences and place each one of the things up on the board. I think that would be so awesome and fun to play if I ever had a chance to be and do that game. That would be amazing. And they get turned into comic book characters It's an amazing game. I love it. I love how each person, they edit it in such a way that it makes it look like some people are doing better than they are. Like even Tiffany looked like she was doing good, and she finished in dead last. I think she timed out at 40 minutes. So I was really wanting Tiffany, Azah, or Chada to win the competition, because then you have a fair advantage, and maybe a girl can pull, Tiffany or Chada off of the block, or they can pull themselves off. But it didn't look like that was going to happen. Azah looked like she was going extra slow in the edit. Derek F gets stumped on Tiff. The funniest part was he got stumped. The only comic he got wrong was Tiffany's. I was like, ooh, that is good old karma for you talking about her like a dog in the beginning, and she would stump you up and make you mess up. Kylan beasted through that, and the edits matched what actually happened. And X, I don't know what he was doing in that comic book challenge, because X was so lost. Like, he was like, I hope that the lawyers, like the people that come to my practice, never get to see this, because it looks like I don't know what I'm doing. He could probably chalk it up and say, you know what, I was just playing that off, and I was throwing the competition again because I didn't want to, get my hands dirty. He can turn that around, but we all know that you were stumped up, X. You was trying your hardest, and you were not getting it. Like, that was hilarious to me. And it seemed like Chada had done well too, but she did not. And Kylan ended up winning the veto in the very end. And, he got to keep his nominations the same. And so there's all these conversations now. And Tiffany finally comes and talks to Kylan again, and really is trying to get him to do something. Let him know that, we got to put somebody else up. We can't, me and her, we have your back. But when I started to look at this part, I was like, Tiffany, it's a little too late for that for me. And in hindsight, even though I was very upset about all these things going down, Tiffany set herself up for this when she won that HOH competition and went against what the cookout wanted her to do. I don't know if her fate may have been any different than what it was, because I think X was kind of gunning for her because he knows that's his competition. But I still feel like she could have probably won Kylan's trust by doing that, by falling down and letting him win that and get that under his belt. But I know she was really strong, and she wanted to take these risks and do what she had to do. But at this point, I was just looking like, Tiffany, you messed your game up with that comp. And Hannah and Kai talk again, and Kai keeps the noms the same. And we move over to a 2-hour eviction, a 2-hour double eviction. Never happened in the history of Big Brother before. A double eviction, and next week another double eviction. So they don't let them even know in the very beginning that there's going to be a double eviction. It's just it looks like it's going to be a single eviction. So that's kind of why they make that last the whole hour. So the first whole half is like a whole regular episode of Big Brother, and then they finally let them know that there's going to be another eviction after the first guest is taken out. But they do your flashbacks of what happened. Tiffany and Chada talk about their time on BB, and it almost seems like, Tiffany has already realized she is going home, because they're doing like a back, like, I wouldn't do anything different. They're going like through the history, like, I'm so sad that you're here with me on this block right now. I may have caused this. Like, she's going through all of these emotions and stuff in her head and wondering if she could have played the game any differently than she did. I'm still throwing this out here. Tiffany is one of the best players on Big Brother, period, regardless of how this all went down. We'll discuss that in just a second. But Azah and Tiffany end up talking, and Tiffany thinks she can go convince Derek F that she can stay. Like I said, this was the episode, I think, that she talked to Derek F, and I was like, this is pointless for you to come up here and talk to him, because Derek F has had it out for you since day 1, maybe day 2, when you started being a boss of everybody and being, a boss. I said, you being a boss bitch. Like, she was doing her thing, like, from the beginning. She was bossy enough to do what she had to do. She wanted to really boss up and let everybody know that she is running this whole entire thing. She's running this game, and Derek F didn't like that. So from the beginning, she, that they wanted basically her to go, or Derek F wanted her to go. So finally, Azah is looking at Tiff like she is crazy as she begins to plant seeds, because Tiffany's going around the house now. And I think I always say this, and correct me if I'm wrong, Big Brother people that have been on there before, do the producers get involved in any way by hyping us up and make it seem like the person that's about to really leave is going to stay? Because there's all of these pitches that go out, and Azah is like throwing Hannah under the bus. She throwing everybody else under the bus. She's making her final pitches, and maybe it is part of the game. Like, you have to just do what you got to do to try to stay, even if it is throwing the people that you've aligned with and the people that are your best friends, even if you got to do what you got to do, you just gun for it. And that's what Tiffany was doing. And Azah just looking at her like, girl, like, you are really losing it right now. You really trying to stay in this game. But she's going around planting all these seeds, and Kai and X have a hard talk about the reasons why they want the money. And we always get to this part of the game where people are making their pitches already, like who deserves the money or who deserves to go. So now you start pulling on heartstrings now. Kai is talking about my college loans and helping out his mom and all of that stuff. And Xavier is giving his story about, the passing of one of his family members and how he's trying to help the mother out because she's helped, her son, all these, she's had to get through all these hard times and all these things that have happened. So this is the time where you're starting to really make your even pitches like you're sitting up in the jury already, so that people have a heart for you and want to pull you into the final two. So I can see that it just looks to me like Kai and X are going to the final two. That's what it looks like. Now, they could surprise me and it could be something terribly crazy, but the most deserving two people that are left after all this was said and done was going to be Kai and X. But let's continue on what was going on in this double eviction. Tiffany talks to Derek F about her chances of trying to get him to vote for her, and he kind of makes it seem like, oh, you have some good points, but he wasn't having it. And then Tiff and X talk about, trying to keep her. And X is like kind of thinking about it. He's like, oh, maybe that might be true, but X is really like, I got to get her out while I can. And finally, we flash back, before we even get to the eviction, we flash back to the jurors that were sitting in the house, and we get a very interesting conversation. Sarah Beth comes into the house, and then we also get Claire and Alyssa that come. They all find out, and they all are aware now that there is a cookout, of course. They were beginning to just guess who was coming next, who was coming next, who was coming next. And it seemed like I said before, that everybody in the house has something against Kylan. Sarah Beth is hurt by Kylan. Brittany is hurt by Kai. Like, it's a lot of people in that house, and I think that Hannah Chada is going to be mad at Kai. Like, it's quite a few people. So Kylan, even though he may get to the final two and still win some money, I don't think he will be the winner of Big Brother, and I can put that out there right now. Kylan will not win this game of Big Brother unless anything crazy happens within the next week, like somebody actually gets rid of X. Kylan is not going to, Kylan is not going to be on, the winner. He's not going to be the winner unless Azah or Derek F is against him. That's what I think. That's my opinion. So finally we get down to the vote. Tiffany goes home 3-0. Not even a sympathy vote, but we're at the end of the game, so of course it's going to be cutthroat. We got to get to the game and get it done. I was very sad to see her go, but as everything was going on, me and my friend were just talking back and forth, and I was like, she played a heck of a game. I better see her back on an All-Stars in future seasons because she played a great game. If the cookout was not around, she could have took this all the way to the end because she could have set her game up so much different than what she did. I hate that, but they had to do this for history, for all of the different reasons. And she was the setup of everything. She deserves to be America's house guest. She deserves to win. Even though Claire understood and, the people have this sympathy, Tiffany deserves to be America's house guest because Tiffany came up with this whole plan and she made this season what it was. She made this season what it was, hands down. We got to give it to her. So let me not get too hyped like I already was. So Tiffany went home. I'm still looking a little pissed off right now, but she did go home. So finally, we do BB Ballers for HOH, and we have to roll these balls to get them to the end and have to stick on the grass. Whoever gets the most balls and it doesn't run off or knock your ball off, you are the winner. The first round, Chada and, of course, Kylan couldn't play. Chada and Derek F went off. And then Azah and Xavier headed it off. And that was very interesting because, of course, Azah, I thought she was just going to throw it because she's so infatuated with Xavier that I thought that she was like, I'm not going to try to win. I was rooting for Azah so hard, though. I was like, man, come on, Azah, win this. Yes. Come on, Azah. We got to do it. Azah wins her first, oh my gosh, she wins her first HOH. And I was so happy. I was like, oh, she's going to do the right thing. Azah has beat Xavier. We're going to keep the girls together. Everything is going down. And then Azah brings Hannah in the room first. And she's like, I'm going to put you and I'm going to put Xavier up. You and Xavier. I made a promise to Kylan, and I made a promise. She's just whispering. She's like, I made a promise to Kylan, and I made a promise to Derek. I can't put them up, so I'm gonna put you. She's like, and her face just drops, and she's like, but what if he wins? But what if she's already calculating everything that's going on? And I was like, no. If that wins, I'll pull you off. If it's a tie, that's a tiebreaker. I'll pull you off. And it's all this commotion. And I'm, at this point, my blood is boiling. I'm like, Azah, what are you doing? Like, girl. Ugh. It's so frustrating, you guys. It's so frustrating watching somebody play the game so crazily. Now, I'm not calling Azah out of names or anything like name calling because she's a great person. But the gameplay, the decision making, the things that you did, it just didn't make sense, Azah. It just didn't make sense to put Hannah up. That is your only girl that is left in the house. And you place her up on the block along with all these other guys who are going to be gunning for you. You're off next week. You're off. You're out of it. Like New York would say, you're out of it. You're out of it next week. That's it. Okay. So Azah, I'm going to stop because it gets me worked up again. Azah puts Hannah up, she's like, I'm putting you up along with Xavier. Xavier, the guys are going to stick with him. Hannah, not so much. So they all have to go play this what the bleep because they have to, everything is getting played, of course, very quickly because this is a double eviction. So they go into finally having to play, for the power of veto, and they do the what the bleep. Hannah seems like she's about to catch up, and she goes back, and then she messes up again. She goes back, and I'm rooting for Hannah to come off this block, but it didn't happen. And so eventually, the winner of that, I believe, it wasn't Derek, it was Xavier. No, was it Xavier? No, it was Kylan. Kylan won. Kylan ended up winning because they were tied. Him and Xavier, the best competitors there. They were tied, and he guessed the lower number, or the number that was closest to the number that they guessed. So Kylan ends up winning, and then Kylan pulls Xavier off the block. He pulls Xavier off the block, which is the worst scenario ever. And along with that goes Derek F. has to go sit next to Hannah. And Derek F. makes his little spiel and says, I brought so much to this competition. What? What did you bring? You came close. But what did you bring? I'm just talking about from a game standpoint. This is nothing against Derek F. I'm just saying, what did you bring, Derek F.? They teased you on the comic books and said sleep. You brought sleep to the competition. So he was really wanting to win some things, but Derek F. made his plea. Hannah makes a heartfelt plea, basically in tears. I felt horrible. Azah at this point knows what's going down. And the two guys vote Hannah or Chada gone. And with so much ease, Xavier did it. Got her out of there. Kylan seemed like he was upset, but he always looks upset after he does stupid stuff. And then Azah is left there looking like how we started at the end of the game. We started like this. We're going to end like this today. Azah, the gameplay this season befuddled me. Yes, I brought back the word. I was befuddled by how you played this game this past week. And so were a whole lot of other people. Just straight befuddled. Look at this. Look at this right here. Yes. Read it, know it, see it. That is how people felt about this game this week. It's very sad to see Tiffany and Chada go. Two of the best players off of the game. It pretty much wraps it up and says Xavier is going to win Big Brother 23 unless something dynamically crazy happens and Derek F. wins next week. That would be totally crazy. It will flip things all the way around. It just looks very obvious at this point. But Big Brother has always surprised me. So we could be very surprised. So I tell you to keep tuning in. Come back here next week. We're almost to the end of this. We have about 2 more weeks of Big Brother. And we'll see what happens. Next Monday, come back here, same place. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe to this channel, King David 24, and come and see me so we can talk about Big Brother. I don't seem as excited this week because my heart was broken seeing my two favorite people go home on the same freaking week. Oh! I am such a Big Brother fanatic, but it saddened my heart. Goodbye, Tiffany. Goodbye, Chada. I'm sorry that you had to go this week. I loved you guys. I loved you as players. I hope to see one of the two of you back on All Stars or something very soon. You guys were amazing. Anyway, I will see you here back next week. Bye, Julie.